Find the amplitude and period of f of t equals negative tangent 0.4t. I'm just going to write this a little bit bigger. F of t is equal to negative tangent 0.4t. If this were a sine function or a cosine function, the amplitude would be 1, all right, because this is a negative 1, and so the amplitude would be 1. However, the way the tangent function works, the tangent function has asymptotes, and it approaches those asymptotes on either side. So it rises and falls forever. Okay, so the point is that tangent functions have no amplitude because they go up forever and they go down forever. So these two choices that say amplitude 1, those are automatically wrong because tangent has no amplitude. It goes up forever and down forever. So we've narrowed it down. We have a 50-50 chance. So now we just have to talk about the period. Well, the b value leads us to the period, but we have to be very careful because the formula for period is really this. The period is equal to the usual period divided by the b value. All right, when I say the usual period, I could have said the parent function period. Okay, the period when the b value is just a 1. So the reason why you have to be so careful with tangent is because the usual period for tangent is only pi. So for sine and cosine, the usual period is 2 pi. So students get into a habit of doing 2 pi over b, 2 pi over b. But for tangent, the period is not 2 pi, it's just pi. So the period is going to be pi over b instead. So the b value here is 0.4. Okay, let's talk about 0.4 for a second. If I read this in a formal way, this is the same thing as 4/10 because of place value. So 0.4 is 4/10, which is the same thing as 2/5. So I'm going to use this form instead of the decimal. So the period is going to be pi over 2/5. Now, because you're dividing by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So this is going to be pi times 5 over 2. So that period is going to be 5 pi over 2 once you multiply the numerators and denominators. Okay, so obviously that means the answer should be B because of the 5 pi over 2.